Good day, this is your hillbilly historian coming to you from the hills of East Tennessee. Uh, Here to give you the truth, the Scottish truth that the English don't want to hear about what goes on in this world today. Today I want to talk a little bit about journalism. I had the honor of knowing one of the greatest journalists in American history. His name was Ernest Phillips. Diehard Democrat. He served on the county commission in Anderson County. He served on the water board. He served as mayor of Oliver Springs. He was a very, very active citizen. He really believed in this country. He was an old-time Democrat who really believed in the old values of America, right and wrong, justice, and all that. He was probably one of the greatest journalists in American history. His honesty actually got him in trouble. He purchased a newspaper. He ran a newspaper in a little town called Lake City, Tennessee. Now I think they've changed their name to Rocky Top. They change their name every generation or two. You know, they built Norris Dam, Norris Lake, so they changed their name from Coal Town to Lake City. Then Rocky Top became the most popular song in America, the greatest football fight song ever devised. So they changed their name to Rocky Top. But hey, that's people trying to live up to whatever they think is the best for their community. But anyway, Ernest Phillips, absolutely wonderful, honest man. He started running a newspaper, and he became one of the greatest investigative journalists in American history. He's the one that dug into the creation of the big South Fork Park over in Scott County. Well, it takes up part of Scott County, Fentress County, Morgan County, Tennessee, and McCreary County, Kentucky. It's a huge park, covers several counties and 2 states. Beautiful, beautiful place. Great place to have a park, a great national park. It's referred to as the Little Smokies. Doesn't have the fame that the Smoky Mountains have got, but I think it'll get there someday. It's really, really a beautiful place. And when that was passed through Congress, Howard Baker Jr., who had been a senator from Tennessee and had a big, huge law firm, several law firms across the state of Tennessee, one of the biggest law firms in the state of Tennessee. He's the one that turns politics into money. But Ernest Phillips dug up the fact that Howard Baker had this secret little law passed that if you own land near the big South Fork, since that land would become a watershed for the big South Fork Park, there were certain regulations that governed the harvesting of timber and coal and all that. And the government would compensate you for those losses. And this little sideboard law was not made popular, and a lot of people lost value in their land and didn't have time. They only gave you 10 days to fill out the paperwork. But Howard Baker, having a law firm and knowing about the law, since he was one of the senators that had it put in there, knew about that 10-day limitation, and so his law firms had their paperwork ready, and Hiram Baker Jr. walked off with $26 million. The government paid him $26 million. It was Ernest Phillips that dug it up. Well, Hiram Baker Jr. was real upset with Ernest Phillips for telling the truth. See, there's Republicans out there, and Hiram Baker Jr. was a big Republican. There's as many crooked Republicans as are crooked Democrats. They're just a little smarter about their crookedness than the Democrats are. Seems like Democrats always get caught. But when Ernest Phillips wrote this in his newspaper, a lot of Scott Canyons were upset. Hiram Baker was upset. So he had all his business friends cut off advertising to Ernest Phillips' newspaper. And a powerful man can do that. But Ernest Phillips told the truth on Hiram Baker. And it was a shame. Hiram Baker was a crook who enriched himself out of the national treasury with a little hidden law that he was going to make sure he walked away with lots of cash. And he did. $26 million is not a small payday. Believe me, that's a big amount. And this is way before Nancy Pelosi and all these, Mitch McConnell, all these people that are stealing from the government today. Ilhan Omar and all these Minnesotans people. But anyway, and then Ernest Phillips did a Public Information Act to get Oak Ridge, the science people that were running Oak Ridge, the medical facilities and all that, to disclose cancer rates in Oak Ridge, in and around Oak Ridge, and in the water supply southwest of Oak Ridge, down the Clinch River and Watts Bar and all that area. He wanted to know about the cancer rates. He knew they had them, but Oak Ridge did not want to disclose this information. And Oak Ridge is a company-run town, a government-run town. A lot of people refer to it as a modern-day welfare society for scientists. You know, if you want a job, don't want to do any work, get paid good for the rest of your life with a good retirement compensation, go to work for Oak Ridge. But Oak Ridge was contaminating the earth and the water around Oak Ridge, and Ernest Phillips suspected this, and he'd been on the water board there in Anderson County, so he knew a lot about what was going on, and he tried real hard to get them to tell the truth about the drugs, or the drug problem from nuclear energy creation around Oak Ridge. And so he was one of the people who wanted this made public, and he got a judge. He had to take them to court. He got a judge to make them disclose this information, and instead of just handing him 50 or 100-page folder with the statistics on it. They filled a transfer truck trailer full of documents and hid this report in the middle of those documents. And they drove it up to his newspaper and parked that trailer. And you know what? Ernest Phillips was such a good investigator, he went through every piece of paper in that truck till he found what he was looking for. And he published that information that Oak Ridge is contaminating surrounding water and earth with nuclear energy, and that the rates of cancer were much higher in the areas that Oak Ridge has been contaminating since they started that place back in 1942, the secret city. But Ernest Phillips, boy, you talk about a journalist. Now, that's the kind of journalism that they should be studying in the colleges and journalism departments in the colleges of the United States. Men like Ernest Phillips, great men of character and honesty and truth. There's not many left that want the truth put out there, but Ernest Phillips was one of them. And then Oak Ridge went to work on his advertisers in the Oak Ridge area, and they basically were able to eventually shut him down and destroy his ability to have an honest newspaper. And that's the way America works sometimes. The dishonest destroy the honest. And journalism has become part of that dishonest cabal that wants to shut down honesty and truth in this country. But Ernest Phillips was not one of them. He was a man of great character and great truth. By the way, he had a daughter that was a Republican. I think Terry Franks. She became mayor, county mayor. They used to call them county executives, which I think is a better name. But I don't know, some idiot in Nashville wanted to change the name to mayor of Anderson County. Ernest went to one of the Republican meetings where his daughter was in charge. She had him arrested, thrown out of the meeting, and the security guard, the sergeant at arms, walked her dad right out of the meeting. That's family politics for you here in Tennessee. But Terry Franks was a great, great Republican mayor of Anderson County. Her dad, I'm sure she's proud of him. He was a great Democrat in Anderson County, a great journalist, a great honest man of great character. And that's what journalism should always be, honesty and truth, and they should search for the truth. Not this crap that's going on in MSNBC, CNN, and NBC and ABC and CBS, Doctor and all this stuff, because they don't like somebody. They don't look for the truth. They look to defy the truth and to promote propaganda and lies. Our national news media is like Goebbels was in Germany and Baghdad Bob in Iraq when we were invading them. And American soldiers were knocking on the door of the broadcasting studio, and Baghdad Bob was saying, "We're defeating the Americans. We're whipping them in every corner." Baghdad Bob was a joke when it comes to journalism, and that's what our American journalists now resort to. They should study the likes of Ernest Phillips, one of the greatest journalists in American history, right here locally in Anderson County. And he provided us with honesty. In fact, the election director in Anderson County stole an election. Ernest Phillips was a Democrat. The election director was a Democrat. But politicians don't like an honest man. And they wanted Ernest out off the county commission. And Allen Williams doctored the absentee ballots in such a way to defeat Ernest Phillips. Then he did it in another election when he had my software that I had written, and the Republican had won the state House seat, but there was like 2 or 3 precincts in Anderson County, and Allen Williams and this Democrat got together at midnight, and they run off 100 absentee ballots, all 100 of them. Next morning they said, "Oh, we found 100 absentee ballots last night that we failed to count. All 100 of them was for the Democrats." And it was obvious he stole the election, but he didn't realize that my software kept journal records when it came to balloting and voting on that computer. Now, actually, we kept audit records. We kept journal records on any record that was modified or changed. And if it had anything to do with an election, we kept what was called audit records. These records were secret. But I knew how to get to them and download them, and I dumped them. Gave them to Ernest Phillips. He went to the county commission. They threw Allen Williams out. They got rid of that low-life cheating SOB. And why they give Allen Williams that job to begin with, I don't know. His dad is the one that run the only bootleg store in all of Oak Ridge. The government allowed one store, and that was Allen Williams' dad that had that illegal liquor store that served alcoholic beverages to the Oak Ridge employees. Even though it was a dry town, government didn't want booze in there. But Allen Williams' daddy was crooked enough to pay off the right people and get one store in there that sold illegally. And the apple never falls far from the tree. Allen Williams is crooked like his dad was, corrupt and crooked. And Ernest Phillips exposed him. Me and Ernest Phillips exposed him, and Betty the county commission fired him, threw his butt out. And that was heartbreaking to poor old Allen Williams. That was the only prestige he'd ever had in his life, was that election director's job. And he was crooked at it. And once he got caught and thrown out, it broke his heart. But anyway, Ernest Phillips, one of the greatest, most honest men of great character in America. He's passed away now. He passed about 15 years ago, at the age of 70. And we just don't have enough people like him and his daughter, Terry Frank. But Ernest Phillips was one of the greatest honest men in America. And he and I hit it off immediately. Journalists in this country, it's sad what they reverted to. They should follow examples like Ernest Phillips. He was one of the greatest journalists in American history. He dug for the truth. He found the truth. He would not settle for anything less than the truth. He was one of the greatest men to ever come out of Anderson County, Tennessee. Wonderful guy. And I just hope we can have journalists who begin to follow his example and begin to give honesty back to that profession. Because people like Rachel Maddow and these people at CBS and all of them, they are destroying the reputation of all journalists in this country. But men like Ernest Phillips, if they would use his example in journalism schools, he knew how to dig for the truth, how to publish the truth, how to fight for the truth, and that's the kind of man we need in this country. And this is your hillbilly historian, bringing you some Scottish honesty, truth that the English does never want to hear. And this is your hillbilly historian signing off.